Can Research-Based Practices Benefit Our Modern-Day Instruction? By Mario Johnson, Chapter 9. For 10 years, very extensive research has been conducted to find methods and strategies that support effective teaching. This has resulted in about 3,000 studies, as well as over 7,000 field studies in many international surveys. According to the American Psychological Association, psychologists working in the field of education are focused on identifying and studying learning methods to better understand how people absorb and retain information. They apply psychological science to improve the learning process and promote educational success in students. When conducting research on students and teaching methods, the following psychological elements are examined. Cues show students what is to be learned as well as explanations of what should be learned. Engagement, how students actively and persistently participate in learning until responses are established. Corrective feedback, corrects errors in verbal or written responses. Reinforcement, includes reward systems that give students confirmation of excellent work. Herbert Wahlberg has compiled a list of methods and patterns that a teacher can use based on the psychological elements of teaching. Wahlberg also includes systems of instruction that require special planning, student grouping, and material. Those practices are patterns, explicit teaching, comprehension teaching, instructional systems, program instruction, mastery learning, adaptive instruction, student grouping, acceleration, ability grouping, and I will reflect on two instructional practices, their elements, and how they can be applied to the classroom. Those two practices are comprehension teaching and ability grouping. What is comprehension teaching? Comprehension teaching is the practice where a specific skill is introduced, then the learner monitors and manages their own learning. In other words, the learner participates and shares responsibility in their own learning. The learner shares responsibility of what they learn through planning, structuring, and self-management. The basic idea of comprehension learning is that the teacher gives examples of the concept that needs to be taught, promote independent use, and then take away support to see what the students can do. This practice originates from several philosophies. A Russian psychologist named Lev Vygotsky emphasized a two-way nature of teaching. He identified a zone of proximal development, which extends from what learners can do independently to the maximum that they can do with the teacher's help. The idea is for the teacher to include scaffolding, build knowledge, and then take away the scaffolding when it is no longer needed. Cognitive research was conducted in the 1980s. The purpose of this research was to seek ways to encourage students to self-monitor, self-teach, and to support independence through metacognition. It was believed that a student's ability to monitor and manage the skills and concepts being taught was more important than the actual teaching of the skill or concept. According to David Pearson, there are three components to comprehension teaching. Those are modeling. The teacher models to the students the expected behavior. Guided practice. The teacher gives guided practice where the students practice with the teacher. And application. The students apply what was learned independently. How can I apply comprehension teaching? The following example includes using comprehension teaching to instruct a second grade class that is learning how to subtract two-digit numbers using regrouping. This lesson would take the course of 5 to 6 days. Day 1. The teacher will bring the students to the carpet to introduce two-digit subtraction by introducing a short example to engage the students. For example, Stacy baked 34 cupcakes. Then she gave 19 cupcakes to her class. How many cupcakes does she have left? Then write the subtraction problem on the board. 34 minus 19. The teacher will demonstrate how to solve the problem with regrouping. The teacher will then send the students back to their desks to do one or two guided problems with the teacher with little input from the students. The teacher will give out independent work while conducting math groups. Day 2. The teacher will bring the students to the carpet and introduce another two-digit subtraction problem while gaining input from the students during each step of the regrouping process. The teacher will then send them back to their desk to do one or two guided problems with the teacher, with students giving input to the teacher. The teacher will give out independent work while conducting math groups. Day 3. The teacher will bring the students to the carpet and introduce another two-digit subtraction problem. The teacher will call students to the board to solve the problem by having certain students complete particular steps of the regrouping process. The teacher will then send them back to their desks, then have them work in pairs to do one or two guided problems with their partner without guidance from the teacher. The teacher will give them an allotted time to complete each problem, then solve the subtraction problem as a class to check for accuracy. The teacher will give out independent work while conducting math groups for students who are still struggling. Day 4. The teacher will bring the students to the carpet and introduce another two-digit subtraction problem. The teacher will call two students to the board to demonstrate how to solve the problem using the regrouping process with input from other classmates. The teacher will then send them back to their desks, then have them complete a partner activity in the form of a fun activity or a game to compete with an opponent. The teacher will walk around them and monitor their progress as they complete the activity, using the knowledge they gain while checking for any misconceptions. They will also be monitored by their partner, who may give possible correction and review of concepts. The teacher will give out independent work while conducting math groups only for students who are struggling. Day 5.